First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Welcome to WUFT News First at 5. I'm Alexus Cleavenger.
And I'm Kennedy Mason. Thanks for joining us. We begin with a developing story, the fallout from flying migrants to Martha's Vineyard and a possible round 2.
Yeah, there's anticipation Governor Ron DeSantis will do it again and target an airport near President Biden's vacation home on the Delaware coast. NBC's Abrar has the latest from Washington.
With the political battle over immigration heating up, a criminal investigation is now the latest twist. A Texas sheriff opening a probe into 2 planes full of migrants flown to Martha's Vineyard last week. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis claimed credit for sending them from Texas to Florida and then to the wealthy Massachusetts island. Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar believes the nearly 50 migrants were lured under false pretenses.
Somebody came from out of state, preyed upon these people, lured them with promises of a better life.
Sheriff Salazar alleging a Venezuelan migrant was paid to recruit the migrants from around a San Antonio resource center.
For little more than a photo op, video op, and then they were unceremoniously stranded.
Governor DeSantis pushing back.
The state of Florida, it was volunteer, offered transport to sanctuary jurisdictions because it's our view that, one, the border should be secured.
DeSantis, who could be a presidential contender in 2024, escalating a tactic used by fellow Republican governors of Texas and Arizona, busing migrants to northern cities. GOP leaders looking to make immigration a key issue in the midterm elections as arrests along the southern border exceeded 2 million in a year for the first time. President Biden stressing that fewer migrants are coming from Mexico and Guatemala amid a new surge of people fleeing authoritarian regimes in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua.
And the ability to send them back to those states is not rational.
The president says the U.S. is working with Mexico and other countries to try and stop the flow. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Our top local story, the Alachua County Commission holds its first public meeting about possible development on 4,000 acres of land off Parker Road.
Yeah, it's the first time the commission is handling a development project quite this way, aiming to hear any concerns from county residents.
The meeting will focus mainly on the environmental impacts that could come from this project. The land is west of Gainesville and is best known as the Lee family property along Parker Road. District 1 County Commissioner Rainey Eagleglen tells us there has been talks about building homes, reportedly as many as 2,600 with a town center. Other ideas include locating a new high school or giving UF a location for an elite new golf course. The proposal is sure to include some set aside for conservation and possibly a gopher tortoise preserve. The special commission meeting is happening right now. Look for follow-up coverage on WUFT.org.
First it's the rain and now it's the heat. Kennedy, I just cannot wait to pull up my fall sweater soon.
I know, I cannot wait to get all cozy in my sweaters. I am so excited. And let's check in with Derrah, get her to see if she has any good news for our fall wardrobe.
Well, unfortunately for your fall wardrobe, you're not going to be breaking out the sweaters anytime soon. Right now temperatures are in the mid-80s, but it feels like 91 degrees. Beautiful blue skies behind me and lots of puffy white cumulus clouds dotting the sky. Over the next couple of hours, we're not expecting any more rain, but we are expecting an overnight low of 68. So if you want to have your sweater out, maybe tonight will be the night. Back to you.
Thank you, Derrah. The judge in the Parkland school shooter case refuses to step down. The defense claims she's hostile and may be biased against the defendant, Nicholas Cruz. Last week, the judge criticized the defense for quickly resting their case after hearing from only a few witnesses. Judge Elizabeth Schrewer called the defense unprofessional outside the presence of the jury. Prosecutors have until next week to give their rebuttal. Now today is National Voter Registration Day, but consider this. 1 in 4 eligible Americans are not registered to vote or are unsure about it. WUFT's Fareeha Abrar tells us about efforts to ramp up participation in Alachua County.
That's right, Kennedy and Alexus. And as of today, 180,564 people are registered to vote here in Alachua County. And I'm here at the Santa Fe College that partnered with many local organizations to get locals registered to vote. The Alachua County Supervisor of Elections Office provided services to anyone interested in registering to vote. Voters have 28 days until Election Day to register by the deadline. And that's all form of votings, in person, by mail, or online.
A lot of folks here are younger. They might be new to the county, or they might be people who lived in the county their entire lives and are finding this as their first opportunity to participate. So we want to make sure they learn more about the process, they learn more about the issues, and they get to speak their voice at the ballot box. And so that's what we're here for, to make sure they get to participate.
The general election is November 8th, and the deadline to vote is October 11th. So make sure you find out your voter registration status at registration.elections.myflorida.com. Reporting from Santa Fe College, Fareeha Abrar, WUFT News.
Thanks, Fareeha. The verdict is in. After the July 2022 Florida bar exam, most UF students are celebrating. UF had the second best passing rate, 78.7%, just behind FIU. Statewide, the average passing rate was only 64.4%. The passing rates declined for many years, last year hitting 62.4%.
We've been on hurricane watch for the past couple of weeks, and Fiona has already left her mark on a number of islands.
What does this mean for those facing this natural disaster and what you could be doing to help? We're giving you tips on how to make donations to those in need when we get back.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Fiona is now the season's first major hurricane as it approaches more islands before an expected turn north-northeast into the open Atlantic.
Fiona leaves behind power outages and major flooding in Puerto Rico. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez shows us what many people woke up to find.
This is what some neighborhoods in southern Puerto Rico are waking up to. Down trees, down power lines, no running water. We even just saw more rain here overnight, but thankfully the floodwaters in this neighborhood have started to recede. Still, the toll on Puerto Rico and the Caribbean has been devastating. At least 3 people are dead in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. This all comes after Hurricane Fiona strengthened overnight to a major Category 3 hurricane, and it's now heading toward Turks and Caicos. Meanwhile, here in Puerto Rico, the governor says that more than 2,000 people were in emergency shelters. More than 1,000 people had to be rescued from neighborhoods like this one. Yesterday, we spoke with residents here who told us how they had to race out of their homes, picked up by municipal officials when the floodwaters raced in. This is the most rain Puerto Rico has seen in this neighborhood, the most they've ever seen, even more than Hurricane Maria, which, by the way, hit Puerto Rico exactly 5 years ago today. The governor says that he hopes that power will be restored in the coming days, not months like it was during Hurricane Maria, but still there are many questions here in Puerto Rico about how long the power will be out and how long before water is restored. About 2/3 of this island are still without running water. Back to you.
As you just heard, today is the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Maria making landfall in Puerto Rico. The major hurricane killed thousands and wiped out the power grid, leading to a slow and costly recovery that in still some ways is not complete. A team of UF student journalists visited the island for the 1-year anniversary, and in one report we'll revisit, they uncovered a lot of wishful thinking about a quick rebound in tourism.
Right now, I eat 1 time a day.
As opposed to 3 times a day before Hurricane Maria. This is how Carlos Bonet Vargas, owner of a small book shack in the streets of Old San Juan, reminisces after losing everything as a result of the storm. Even now, a year later, small businesses
The World Bank says Puerto Rico tourism was climbing back up after Maria only to take an even worse hit with the COVID pandemic. As for the fragile electric grid, FEMA has lined up a war chest of $9.5 billion in funding, but only the first 40 projects have been approved to date.
Organizations across the country are accepting donations to help Hurricane Fiona victims. In north central Florida, the Salvation Army is filling vans up with food. Organizations like AmeriCare's District Relief and the Hispanic Federation are accepting financial donations that will contribute to helping victims. As of Monday afternoon, more than 1 million customers lost power. With large amounts of flooding, residents will need supplies such as food, water, tarps, and new mattresses. You can visit the websites listed on your screen to donate to these organizations.
Now that you know what's going on around the world, let's see what weather conditions we're facing right here in Gainesville. WUFT's Derrah Getter joins us now to tell us more. Derrah.
Hurricane Fiona is bringing strong winds and torrential rainfall to the Turks and Caicos. I detail where Fiona is heading in my full forecast.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Right now, temperatures are in the upper 80s with the exception of 82 in Palatka, 87 in Gainesville, and 89 in Ocala. Over the next couple of hours, we aren't expecting any more rain the rest of this afternoon or evening, but we are expecting an overnight low of 68, so we are expecting temperatures to gradually decline. We were tracking storms earlier moving off the coast of the Atlantic, but as the afternoon rolled along, the bulk of those storms shifted south into Ocala and the villages. Not too many lightning strikes. We've seen more in the recent weeks, but still, be aware of that if you are in those areas. Over the right now, temperatures are in the upper 80s. It feels like 91 out, about 5 miles per hour breeze, so you might feel a light breeze if you're heading home. Lots of white cumulus clouds dotting the beautiful blue sky there. As you wake up Wednesday morning, you might want to pack a light sweater if you're heading to class or work. 69 in Gainesville, 70 in Ocala, and 69 in Bronson. Partly cloudy Wednesday morning. Isolated showers will start popping up later on in the afternoon, but by evening we're expecting calm winds and those storms to clear on out of that area. Storms will be popping up off the Atlantic coast around 2 p.m. 3 o'clock we have some scattered showers here in the south part of Gainesville, Chiefland, and Ocala. By evening rush hour, we are expecting a pop-up storm here along that I-75 corridor, but after that we're going to be clear pretty much the rest of the evening. We are tracking Hurricane Fiona and Tropical Storm Gaston. We don't expect Hurricane Fiona to make landfall. The rest of this week, temperatures will be in the low 90s. We are expecting a cold front in between Friday and Saturday, dipping us into the upper 80s Saturday through Monday. Back to you.
Thanks, Derrah. I am excited for that cold front. At the UN General Assembly, it's the first time for an in-person gathering since 2019. After 2 years of virtual and hybrid sessions, there's a lot on the agenda for the week. There will be specific sessions on education, minorities, and nuclear weapons. The crisis topics include the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and the global economy. The Gators have run the ball really well for their first 3 games.
Yeah, that's right, Kennedy, and they'll look to keep that going on the road against Tennessee on Saturday. Coming up, we'll be hearing from one Florida Gators lineman saying Florida could take the win over the 11th ranked team in the country.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back to sports. I'm Chris Will. Florida football continues to prepare for a matchup with the Tennessee Volunteers on Saturday. Despite some struggles throwing the ball, the Gators have found plenty of success on the ground. Florida ran for over 200 yards against the USF Bulls on Saturday and have established themselves among the top rushing teams in the country. The Gators have run for over 600 yards through 3 games, and running backs Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne are the top 2 running backs in the SEC in yards per attempt. Florida guard Osiris Torrance says the Gators' run game will be the key to their success this weekend.
It's going to be important this game because it's going to help our defense out a lot because I feel like in the last 2 to 3 games, we let our defense down by having them out there so much. Even the last game for sure, because I didn't know until yesterday that we only ran like 48 plays, and the defense is out there for over 50. And I just feel like we don't need to have them. We've overworking them, so we need to hold the ball some.
Saturday's kickoff against the number 11 Tennessee Volunteers is set for 3:30 on CBS. And it was a Monday Night Football doubleheader in the NFL last night, and 2 Super Bowl contenders put the league on notice. The Buffalo Bills kicked off the night against the Tennessee Titans, and just before halftime, Bills quarterback Josh Allen hits wide receiver Stephon Diggs for his first of 3 TDs on the night as the Bills cruised to a 41-7 victory. Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles also got things going early against the Minnesota Vikings. At the start of the second quarter, Jalen Hurts throws an absolute bomb to Quez Watkins to put the Eagles up by 2 scores. Hurts would add 2 more on the ground en route to a 24-7 win. The 21st annual Gainesville Senior Games are underway. More than 100 athletes, all 50-plus years young, will participate in the month of sporting events. WUFT's Jennica Clerveaux shows us the spirit.
Javelin throw, shot put, men and women's 400-meter dash, and the triple jump. Just some of the competitions at the James G. Presley Stadium for the Senior Games. 85-year-old Harold Smith and his wife Audrey, who happens to be 84 years young, couldn't wait to compete.
We've traveled all the way from Sebring up here to do this.
As part of the track and field portion of the Senior Games, participants in each event were separated by age group. The oldest athlete, 91 years old. 80-year-old John Shank remembers the moment he became an athlete.
I've always enjoyed other sports, but I really didn't consider myself an athlete until one point in my life when I was playing summer softball.
Back then, his itch wasn't the track. It was the diamond. But the diamond led him to the track.
I started surprising first basemen in the first baseman when I get a weak hit, and then I almost beat it out and said, oh, I can run. So I became an athlete and actually spent 9 years coaching high school cross country.
Many participate for the love of the sport, and for others, it's the love of competition. For Harold and Audrey, the games strengthened their relationship.
Well, it just keeps us bonded, and things we can talk about, plan.
If it was just one of us that ran, it would be a problem probably.
Yeah, right.
So we both run and we enjoy it.
Yeah, we work together and we kind of do our own thing.
The couple has been running side by side for over 30 years, and just like the Senior Games, they don't plan to stop anytime soon. Jennica Clerveaux, WUFT News.
Thanks, Chris. BBC World News is next, and the PBS News Hour is coming up at 7.
Yep, you can get all of your Florida news on WUFT.org. Have a good night. See you soon.